Hello all. In the last session, we have finished discussing about the historical underpinnings of the Indian Constitution. In the session, let's discuss about the various sources of Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution was borrowed from many sources. என்ன sourcesனு பார்ப்போம். The major source வந்து Government of India Act 1935. Already we have seen about this act in the historical underpinnings. So in the Government of India Act 1935, the major source of Indian Constitution, federal scheme in the act la தான் எடுத்தாங்க. Office of Governor, the Public Service Commission borrowed the concept of State and Joint Public Service Commission. So we have already seen Joint Public Service Commission as well as State Public Service Commission. இது ரெண்டுமே Government of India Act 1935 இருந்து தான் எடுத்தாங்க. Whereas 1919 Government of India Act Montague-Chelmsford reformsல தான் Federal Public Service Commission வந்து எடுத்தாங்க. So please distinguish between the two. ஸோ இந்த ஆக்ட்ல இருந்து இது எல்லாமே நம்ம இந்தியன் கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷனில் இன்கார்பரேட் பண்ணப்பட்டிருக்கு. நெக்ஸ்ட் யூஎஸ் கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன்லேருந்து வாட் அண்ட் ஆல் வி borrowed. ஜுடிஷியல் ரிவ்யூ விச் இஸ் த மேஜர் திங். ஜுடிஷியல் ரிவ்யூனா என்ன? This judicial review is actually implicitly present in the Constitution of India but nowhere mentioned in our Constitution. Overlook into the law and can interpret and nullify it. Only the concept is borrowed. So, there is nowhere in the Constitution you can find the judicial review. Explicita கூறப்படல, implicita in the judicial review concept மட்டும் US Constitution கிட்ட இருந்து we have borrowed. Fundamental rights. American Constitution, this fundamental right is also called as Bill of Rights. Original Constitution, India original Constitution, totally there were 7 fundamental rights. But as of now, we have got only 6 fundamental rights. Why? Because the right to property has been removed. In the right to property, fundamental right la irundhu remove ஆகி constitutional right ஆ மாறிடுது. Next comes independent judiciary. So, independent judiciary, in the concept we have borrowed it from the US Constitution. Next thing is your impeachment procedure of the president. So, what do you mean by impeachment? Removal. President remove செய்யப்பட்டுச்சுனா அந்த terminology-க்கு பேரு impeachment. So, removal of the president அந்த ஒரு procedure format-ம் US Constitution கிட்ட இருந்து we have borrowed. But it's very complicated. That's why till now nothing happened like that. So no president has been impeached so far because for impeachment it's a very tedious and long process. அதனாலேயே impeachment இதுவரைக்கும் யாருமே செய்யப்படல. Maybe in the future if it demands for an impeachment of the president now we have it in our constitution. So impeachment செய்யப்படுறதுக்கான procedure நம்ம constitutionல இருக்கு if in the future if there is any demand. Vice President acting as the ex officio chairman of upper house, இந்த கான்செப்ட்டுமே US Constitution கிட்ட இருந்து தான் நம்ம borrow செஞ்சிருக்கோம். Removal of Supreme Court and High Court judges. So far no one has been removed. So impeachment procedure of the president, அதாச்சும் removal of the president as well as removal of Supreme Court and High Court judges எல்லாமே US Constitution கிட்ட இருந்து தான் we have borrowed it. Next, note in America the term of president and vice president வந்து 4 years 4 வருஷம் தான். ஆனா இந்தியால the term of president and vice president வந்து 5 வருஷம். So next British Constitution கிட்ட இருந்து what and all we borrowed னு பாப்போம். Rule of law. What do you mean by rule of law? Rule of law na all are same before the law. The relaxation is given to the president and governor. Only these two persons are treated above law because of their office of dignity. They cannot be arrested under any criminal cases, whereas a prior notice is sent 2 months earlier for them to come to the court. So these two positions, these two people at any circumstances cannot be arrested under any criminal cases. Whereas ஒரு civil case-ஆ இருந்துச்சுன்னா a prior notice is sent 2 months earlier to them to come to the court. So இதுதான் rule of law. In the procedure we have borrowed it from British Constitution. Next, very important, பார்லிமெண்ட்ரி ஃபார்ம் ஆஃப் கவர்மெண்ட் அந்த ஸ்ட்ரக்சரே நம்ம பிரிட்டிஷ் கிட்ட இருந்து தான் எடுத்திருக்கோம். ஸோ தெர் ஆர் டூ ஃபார்ம்ஸ் ஆஃப் கவர்மெண்ட், ஒன்று பார்லிமெண்ட்ரி, இன்னொன்று பிரசிடென்ஷியல். பார்லிமெண்ட்ரினா என்ன? எக்ஸாம்பிள் வந்து இந்தியா யூகே இஸ் அ பார்லிமெண்ட்ரி ஃபார்ம் ஆஃப் கவர்மெண்ட். பார்லிமெண்ட்ரி ஃபார்ம் ஆஃப் கவர்மெண்ட்டில் பிரைம் மினிஸ்டர் இஸ் த ரியல் ஹெட். Council of Ministers are responsible to lower house. Very, very important. Please have a note. Council of Ministers are responsible to the lower house. Rajya Sabha kadiyadu, Parliamentum kadiyadu. Only to the lower house. That is Lok Sabha ku mattum now Council of Ministers are responsible. So until they lose the majority, they can enjoy the office. So there is no tenure like that. Until they have the majority, they can enjoy it. And ministers need not be a member in any house. So initially, ministers need not be a member in any house. Within 6 months of becoming a minister, they need to acquire the MP membership. So this is the procedure which we have got in the parliamentary form of government. Presidential, example, US is your presidential form of government. இங்கே வந்து president is the real head. Okay, council of ministers are responsible to the president. So council of ministers are directly responsible to the president. ஏன்னா president தான் real head. Ministers need not be a member of any house. Okay. In presidential form of government, ministers need not be a member of any house. But parliamentary form of government la vandu ministers need to be a member in any house. I've told it in the wrong way before. Please correct it. Parliamentary form of government la ministers need to be a member in any house. Adum at the time, if they are not the member, that's okay, but they need to get the MP membership before 6 months. So this is the criteria laid down in the parliamentary form of government. So I repeat, in parliamentary form of government, ministers need to be a member in any house. If they are not, they must get the membership within 6 months. Okay? On a presidential form of government, they need not be a member of any house because and the ministers எல்லாமே directly responsible to the president. Right? அதே மாதிரி parliamentary form of government வந்து greater responsibility, less stability. Please keep these two words in mind. Presidential form of government வந்து greater stability and less responsibility. Okay, and one more difference between Britain parliamentary form of government and Indian என்னன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, Britainல PM must be from lower house. லோக்சபால இருந்து தான் PM இருக்கணும். ஆனால் இந்தியாவில் வந்து PM can either be from Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. So Britainல the Prime Minister has to be from the lower house. ஆனால் இந்தியாவில் the Prime Minister can be from any house, either of the house. Right. So the other things that we have borrowed என்னன்னா, okay, நம்ம ஏன் parliamentary form of government எடுத்தோம்? We adopted parliamentary form of government from British Constitution since we had the experience of it from the British ruling us. புதுசாக ஏதோ ஒரு ஃபார்ம் ஆஃப் கவர்மெண்ட் எடுத்து ரூல் பண்ணதை விட நம்ம ஆல்ரெடி அந்த பிரிட்டிஷ் பார்லிமெண்ட்ரி ஃபார்ம் ஆஃப் கவர்மெண்ட்க்கு we were used to it. So it was easy for the people to adapt to it. அதனால we took the parliamentary form of government. Next, single citizenship. So the basic idea to adopt this is to promote fraternity. Brotherhood promote பண்ணதுக்காக தான் இந்த single citizenship concept நம்ம பிரிட்டன் கிட்ட இருந்து incorporate பண்ணியிருக்கோம். Exception, Jammu and Kashmir is an exception because Jammu and Kashmirல இருக்கிற பீப்புளுக்கு ரெண்டு சிட்டிசன்ஷிப் இருக்கு. One is the people are citizens of India, that is one thing, and the people are citizens of Jammu and Kashmir. So this is the dual citizenship that the people of Jammu and Kashmir enjoy. Cabinet system in the hierarchical structure we have borrowed it from Britain Constitution. Prime Minister, Cabinet Ministers, Minister of State. So already we have seen this. So இதுதான் அந்த Council of Ministers. In the Prime Minister, in between we have got Deputy Prime Minister if that position is in demand. இல்லைனா just Cabinet Ministers. இந்த ரெண்டுமே சேர்ந்தது தான் Cabinet. Legislative procedure பிரிட்டன் கிட்ட இருந்து தான் நம்ம borrow பண்ணியிருக்கோம். and the concept of bicameralism also we have borrowed it from the Britain Constitution. So all these things we have borrowed from the Britain Constitution. Next, let's move on to Ireland. Irish Constitution kitta irundhu what we have borrowed. Very, very important. DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy. First, DPSP na என்னன்னு பார்ப்போம். If any body, say country at the central level or state or local or anything, takes up and implements a decision, and if the people are affected by it either positively or negatively, then that body is called a state. State என்றது just not the states. Okay, state can be any body-ஆ இருக்கலாம். ஒரு கண்ட்ரியையும் ஸ்டேட்னு தான் சொல்லுவாங்க. அதுக்குள்ளே இருக்கிற டிவிஷனாக இருக்கிற ஸ்டேட்ஸும் ஸ்டேட் தான். இல்லை ஏதாச்சும் ஒரு லோக்கல் பாடியும் ஸ்டேட் ஆர் எனிதிங், இது எல்லாமே ஸ்டேட்டுன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. எப்போனா ஏதாச்சும் ஒரு டெசிஷனை எடுத்து அது இம்ப்ளிமெண்ட் செய்யப்பட்டுச்சுன்னா அது ஸ்டேட். அண்ட் அந்த டெசிஷன் இம்ப்ளிமெண்ட் செய்யப்பட்டதால் பீப்புள் வந்து நெகட்டிவாவோ பாசிட்டிவாவோ அஃபெக்ட் ஆகப்பட்டாங்கன்னா ஸ்டேட், ரைட்? ஸோ நம்ம ஆக்சுவலாக டிபிஎஸ்பி இன் டீட்டெயிலாக செப்பரேட் சாப்டராகவே பார்க்கலாம். பட் இந்த கான்செப்ட் ஆஃப் டிபிஎஸ்பி ஐரிஷ் கான்ஸ்டியூஷன்லேருந்து வி ஹாவ் borrowed itனு இப்போதைக்கு தெரிஞ்சுப்போம். அண்ட் பார்லிமெண்ட் ஆஃப் ஸ்டேட், சென்ட்ரல் கவர்மெண்ட், லெஜிஸ்லேச்சர், ஸ்டேட் கவர்மெண்ட், பஞ்சாயத்தி ராஜ், முனிசிபாலிட்டிஸ், ஸ்டாச்சுட்டரி, நான் ஸ்டாச்சுட்டரி, இங்கே நான் சொல்லப்பட்டிருக்கிற எல்லாமே ஸ்டேட் தான். பார்லிமெண்ட் என்ன பண்ணுவாங்க? தே மேக் லா. அதனால பீப்புள் ஆர் affected either பாசிட்டிவ் வேவாக சில பேர் இருக்கலாம், நெகட்டிவ் வேவாக இருக்கலாம். ஸோ ஏதாச்சும் ஒரு டெசிஷன் எனி பாடி எடுத்து அதனால பீப்புள் ஆர் அஃபெக்டிங் இன் ஈதர் மேனர்னா that is known as state. Okay, that concept is called DPSP. So parliament of state, central government எடுக்கிற decisions-ஆல, schemes-னால people are affected. Legislature, state government, பஞ்சாயத்து ராஜ் and municipalities, இதெல்லாம் நம்ம local bodies-னு சொல்லலாம். So local bodies like பஞ்சாயத்து ராஜ் and municipalities which take up a decision and implement, அதனால people are getting affected in positive or negative way. That's why it's called a state. And this comes under the concept of DPSP. Statutory ko non-statutory institutions ko enna difference? It's very important to know. Statutory na ஒரு lawனால ஒரு body form ஆகுது, ஒரு institution form ஆகுதுன்னா அது statutory. Non-statutory na ஒரு law make பண்ணாம ஒரு executive resolutionனால ஒரு institution make ஆச்சுன்னா இல்லை establish ஆச்சுன்னா அது non-statutory. For example, Human Rights Commission அந்த பாடி இருக்குல்ல, அது வந்து Human Rights Commission Act மூலியமாக, ஆக்ட் இஸ் நத்திங் பட் ஒரு லா. ஸோ ஒரு லா கொண்டு வந்து அதனால ஒரு பாடி செட்டப் பண்ணி சில டெசிஷன்ஸ் இம்ப்ளிமெண்ட் பண்ணாங்கன்னா அது ஸ்டாச்சுட்டரி இன்ஸ்டிடியூஷன்ஸ். நான் ஸ்டாச்சுட்டரினா எந்த ஒரு லாமே இருக்காது. ஸோ எந்த ஒரு லாமே இல்லாமல் ஒரு பாடி எஸ்டாப்ளிஷ் ஆச்சுன்னா அது நான் ஸ்டாச்சுட்டரி இன்ஸ்டிடியூஷன்ஸ். ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள், CBI is a non-statutory institution. Nomination of members to the upper house, that is 12 members get appointed to the upper house, which is also borrowed from the Irish Constitution. Election method of the president. So president is elected through indirect election. So president is elected by the elected members of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, state legislative assemblies and assemblies of Delhi and Pondicherry, UT. So in the elected members-னால தான் president gets elected. In the concept we have borrowed it from the Irish Constitution. Next, from Canadian Constitution, what and all we borrowed? The residuary powers with the center. Schedule 7 we have union list subjects, state list subjects and concurrent list. So Schedule 7 in the மூணுமே we have borrowed it from the Canadian Constitution. For a new subject, lawmaking is given to the Parliament. This power of the central government is called residuary powers. Federation with a strong center. So at emergency in the nation or state or at president rule, the central government take control over the center. So federation with a strong center under concept, we have borrowed it from the Canadian Constitution. Appointment of the state governor by central government. Advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. இது எல்லாமே we have borrowed it from Canadian Constitution. Next comes South African Constitution. Amendment procedure of the constitution, that is article 368, we have borrowed it from South African constitution. The method of election of members of upper house, iduvume we have borrowed it from South African constitution. So both are important, that we have borrowed it from the South African constitution. Next, USSR, erstwhile USSR, இவங்க கிட்ட இருந்து what we have borrowed, fundamental duties. Actually speaking, fundamental duties நம்மளுடைய original constitutionல இல்லை. So through amendment, that is 42nd amendment 1976ல தான் fundamental duties நம்ம constitutionல incorporate செய்யப்பட்டுச்சு. இந்த fundamental duties concept USSR, that is Russia கிட்ட இருந்து borrow பண்ணிருக்கோம். Ideals of justice, justice of three kinds, social, economic, political. இது மூணு justiceுமே we have borrowed it from USSR. A combo of social and economic justice denotes distributive justice. Just keep it as a MCQ point. And the 5-year plan இருக்குல்ல, and the 5-year plan we have borrowed it from USSR. Next, what are all the things that you have borrowed from France? Republic. Republicனு எப்போ சொல்லுவோம்னா, if the president is elected through some procedure in any country, then that country is called republic. So if the president gets elected instead of nominated, election can be either direct or indirect. அப்படி இருந்துச்சுன்னா அது republic சொல்லுவோம். Republic concept we have borrowed it from France. The ideals of liberty, equality and fraternity. Keep the mnemonics as LEF, the first letter LEF, left. So liberty, equality, fraternity in the concept preamble இருக்கு. இது நம்ம France கிட்ட இருந்து we have borrowed it. Next, Weimar Constitution, that is Germany. Suspension of fundamental rights during emergency, that is national emergency concept, we have borrowed it from Germany. And a law on which the Supreme Court functions. From Japan also we have borrowed a concept, that is law on which the Supreme Court function. So there are many other sources from which our Indian constitution has borrowed. And one more thing, from Australian constitution we have borrowed the concurrent list. In schedule 7 there are 3 lists. Central, that is union list, state list, concurrent list. The third one, concurrent list alone, we have borrowed it from Australian constitution. Joint sitting of 2 houses of the parliament. So ordinary bills la dhaan joint sitting nadakkum, and the joint sitting procedure also we have borrowed it from the Australian constitution. Preamble odia language, the provisions regarding trade, commerce and intercourse, idu ellame we have borrowed it from Australian constitution. So there are many other sources and many other countries also from which we have borrowed certain concepts for our Indian constitution. These are all the major things. Almost I have covered 10. And let's now look into one of the questions. Which one of the following is a feature common to both the Indian Federation and American Federation? Single citizenship, it is in correspondence with Britain. So America oda illa. 3 lists in the constitution, Canada கிட்ட இருந்து வாங்கியிருக்கோம். So it's not in connection with America. Dual judiciary, no, we cannot say so. A federal Supreme Court to interpret the constitution, yes. Judicial review, like a separate judiciary, federal Supreme Court, we have borrowed it from American constitution. Dual judiciary concept, no, we didn't borrow it. Right, so this is all about the sources of the constitution and few GK like questions. Parliament is supreme in UK. So UK nale parliament தான் supreme, the most powerful. அதனால UK parliament is called the mother of parliament of other countries. So for all other countries, UK parliament is the mother of parliament of all other countries. Next, 2 forms of government should be mentioned in the constitution itself. Then only it can become a federation. For example, central level ஒரு government as well as state level ஒரு government. ரெண்டு government உடைய structure, schema, everything has to be mentioned in the constitution. அப்படி இருந்தா மட்டும்தான் அந்த country federation சொல்லப்படும். For example, if we take Indian constitution, central level, central government we have written some points in the constitution. Similarly, for state level, we have the structure and schema mentioned in the constitution. So, rendu government if it is placed in the Indian constitution, then it can be known as a federation. So, India Federation, US, Canada, Australia, idellame federation. Whereas, China and Sri Lanka, there is no distinguish between these two. China and Sri Lanka has local self-government, but its constitution is unitary in nature, which means only central level mattumna mention ஆயிருக்கும். State level பத்தின எந்த ஒரு distinguishமே வந்து இந்த China and Sri Lanka ரெண்டு constitutionல இருக்காது. So it's just a point to keep in mind. So this is all about the sources of constitution. Hope it's clear. In the next session, we'll look into the salient features of Indian constitution. Thank you.